Someone shot the food. Life force running out.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we find video games to be ridiculous. Hey, everybody! It is Monday, May the 10th, 2021, and welcome back to your live Mr. Video Game Live Super Show, brought to you by Dead Sun Entertainment. Hi, I'm Slacker Kite. I'm the editor. I push buttons and make show go vroom, and also make all of the idea things what happen to your screen region. We also, as always, have our returning champions, as always. The person with the most. But, but. Man, I had it, and then my brain totally lost the introduction. Fuck it, it's Brian, aka Wonder Boy.
You know what? That's very apt for the person that I am. So I thank you for that. Always something on the tip of your tongue and then it escapes and you're just like left saying, fuck it. I guess we're just going to go ahead and do it.
Fuck
What
it,
up?
let's just go with Wonder Boy. How you doing today, buddy?
What's up, internet? No, no, I'm not stealing waypoint shit. No, I'm doing well. I'm doing good. It's been a very relaxing weekend into a somewhat busy day. It's been good though. Video games and other things and such and whatnots and things. So it's all around pretty good. I'm doing well. I'm trying to think. There was something I was going to say before everything got all. See, that's why I say the intro is very apt. There was something in my head and it just ran away too. So fuck it. Let's move on to the third person.
I see we're all very much here and alive today. Of course, always with us. Our favorite color commentary brings in all of the joy, fun, and whatnot. It is Lindsay, aka Letty Merwin.
Joy, fun, and whatnot. Yeah, sure. We'll go with that today.
You bring a whole lot of whatnot into the show.
Yeah, mostly whatnot. uh, it's been a couple of weeks. I'm sorry. I've missed you guys. I'm getting better. I promise. I haven't succumbed to the brain melt yet, although I probably should eventually.
I mean, customer support does that to people. Especially phone support, where they don't know your face, so they just think you're anonymous member of, your product number 3487. Congratulations.
Oh no. Today's brain melt went so above and beyond what brain melt should be, and it wasn't as the result of a customer.
Oh.
Customer received an email from their ISP saying, "Hey, there's a NetBIOS vulnerability in one of the devices connected to your home network.
Okay.
Fix it or we're cutting off your service."
Ooh.
He called the ISP. ISP went, "Yeah, so our third-party company that regularly scans your IP, strike one, let us know about this, so we figured it was prudent to let you know." Okay, well, can you fix it? Well, no, it's out of our scope. So he called us. So I tried, couldn't figure it out. My seniors couldn't figure it out. So on my break, I did some digging. Turns out that NetBIOS vulnerability is from the fucking modem shipped from that ISP.
Oh, good.
The way to fix it is to restore it to factory settings, and then all of those ports that are wide open are now closed and stealthed.
Cool. Cool and great.
GG Rogers, GG. Yeah, I'm calling those fuckers out.
Oh, I think every Canadian that I've ever talked to has a real disdain for Rogers. So.
Ogalopoly my ass!
And
Yeah, I'm rage
middling
balling early tonight. Sorry, guys.
and middling acceptance of pizza. I think those are just rooted in Canadianism now.
It means. But yeah.
All right. Hey, let's talk about video games, shall we?
Sure.
Yeah, let's just drop into it. And I started the stream on the stream ending screen, which tells you how great of an editor in chief I am here. But
Arenas is coming to Apex
I
Legends.
figure Brian, you go first, because I'm actually interested in hearing more about the arenas in Apex Legends.
This is over the first time ever you're interested in hearing me ramble on about Apex.
I mean, I'm usually kind of interested, but I know
I'm just being real. I know me and the games that I get into. I understand how the kind of audiences that it entertains. So, and the lack of those audiences sometimes on this show, but it's perfectly fine. I have no complaints about that. It's fun. No, yeah. So, I've been trying to I was trying to play some other stuff over the week and did not get to all of it, but I did get to play a lot of the new Apex Legends season, which means that I played a lot of Arenas mode, which is basically Respawn's answer to Valorant. It's basically 3 versus 3 in smaller, more open air arenas that are based off of the levels that are in the Battle Royale mode in the game. Um, no resurrections. You can revive downed teammates, but there's no resurrections in each round. There is an economy phase at the beginning, so you're like similar like Valorant. You're purchasing your equipment ahead of each round, and based on your performance and collecting materials in previous rounds, like you get more materials to buy better stuff with in subsequent rounds and stuff like that. It's basically the games are a lot shorter than what you would normally get in Valorant. Just because like you basically play first team to 3 unless you tie. Um, okay, let me play that back. It's first team to 3, but you have to win by 2. It's like playground rules in basketball. You know what I mean? So like if you have 2 teams that get 2 rounds each, you have a tiebreaker and you have to win one and then win another one. So, yeah, so it can get long, but I've only had a few games that have gone like back and forth on tiebreakers, which they're really fun when that happens. Don't get me wrong, but it just hasn't been my experience so far with it. But I've been really enjoying it. As someone who played a lot of Valorant at launch, and then after the first month of that, has not gone back to it, even though I have a desire to. This scratches that itch a lot. It's also opened up my repertoire of characters a bit more. Like there are some characters that I am like nervous to play with in the battle royale mode, or just like are maybe a little bit hesitant to play because like I don't necessarily like playing super offensive characters, even though a lot of the characters, even the more offensive ones, you can tailor them to be more like counter or support or defensive and that sort of thing as you learn them. But this mode has like kind of really opened up a bunch of the opportunity to learn a bunch of new heroes in different ways. And I really enjoyed that a lot. It's really fun, honestly, and it's a really great progression of what um this game offers, because like it's just it's just there's no waiting around like in the battle royale modes. You're just jumping right into the firefights,
Mhm.
with some added tension there because you're jumping right into the firefights. So yeah, I really enjoy it a lot. I've been getting a lot of fun out of it, and I am not going to stop playing it. In some ways, I look forward to playing arenas more than I do the battle royale some days.
Nice.
Um, but it is a little buggy. I will say that much, and there is an issue of people dropping out mid match.
Yeah.
I get very frustrated about that. Although it does create some interesting little things. In the first day after the update released, I jumped into an arenas game where it instead of it being 3-on-3, it only launched me and another player in, so it was 1v1,
Oh.
and we both chose Bloodhound, which is this support character who is much more about like tracking and like identifying where other people are. So it was basically just two people who had the ability to like scan where the other person was, just trying to root around these maps that feel like Valorant maps or feel like that style of map, but more open. No, like there's no hallways. There's no like real close quarters in that way. It's still very open, so it takes some getting used to. But you're just like maneuvering around these different places from cover to cover and trying to find trying to find these other people in a 1v1 match was really fun. It was dumb, but it was fun. So
Do
yeah,
you
I really enjoy it though.
do you find yourself like having to switch characters from what you're more comfortable with to match up for what the other players have, or do you just go in with what you have
I mean,
regardless?
not necessarily. I mean, the good thing about Apex is that team construction, can be very, very flexible depending on, the people that you're playing with and how different people play different heroes. Like I said, like I've been playing a lot of Octane, which is someone who I have really hardly ever played in the battle royale mode. But I'm playing a lot of Octane in the arenas mode, and I'm basically not even really. You don't have to use a ton of that. Let me take that back. You change the way you approach using special abilities in arenas mode as opposed to battle royale mode. So like with Octane, it's very much about evasion. It's very much about trying to be speedy and flanking for me. Whereas in arenas, whereas in battle royale, it's very much about having that same speed, but also using that speed to kind of like get to evade, as well as creating some verticality with his ultimate, which is the jump pad.
Mhm.
So it's just like different approaches in that way, and because of all these different ways you can play these characters, you can very easily really construct teams based off of like whoever you're comfortable playing, or if you want to try somebody new, like there's not as much um anxiety, I would say, around that. At least not inherently. It can't always accommodate the human brain, especially mine. So, but yeah, I really enjoy it. I haven't found a bad combination so far, and there are some combinations that you wouldn't think would work, but they work really, really well together. um, so yeah, I've been really enjoying it. Lifeline's a fucking beast in arenas mode, by the way. If you have a good lifeline in your team, like it's gonna be hard to it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be really, really interesting.
At this point, I'm kind of just watching the gameplay that they're featuring here, and my brain does not go fast enough to keep up with this. Like, is this normal gameplay for this game, or
Mm, it's pretty standard, yeah, I would
okay?
say. Like I mean, now granted, like, people go at different speeds,
Yeah.
and like the more you get accustomed to playing the game, the faster you're gonna be doing stuff and that sort of thing. Like whenever I play, like, yeah, I go at this speed sometimes. I don't have as good aim as some of these other people do. But like, yeah, like I'm like, especially in arenas, like as soon as I know where people are and like I know where my teammates, like in terms of like setting up a strategy to approach things, like I am immediately like running towards something, trying to figure out different ways of trying to approach things and flank and um, just try and find advantageous spots within the maps. There's only 3 maps right now, so you
Mhm.
learn these maps very quickly, especially
Yeah.
because they're also based off of previous areas that are in the battle royale maps. So learning the maps is really, like, really quick, and because of that, like it can be very quick to like form strategies in terms of how you approach things and that sort of thing. So yeah, I really enjoy it. It's been a blast. And then I know I joked last week about roping you two into playing arenas at some point for a stream. I'm still in for that if y'all ever want to.
I
Me and my
think
partner have been playing arenas a lot since it launched, and we've been having fun with it. So
didn't Peter and I try playing this with you at one point? We determined that I am absolute balls at this game.
not with me. That might have been with somebody else. I've never the only person I've ever played this game with that I like know is my partner.
I tried playing and I determined that I'm too chicken shit for battle royales.
Mm.
I tend to panic because I'm afraid somebody's waiting for me around a corner. And so it's just mad dash from cover to cover to cover to cover, and shooting doesn't happen because I'm spazzing too hard.
See, I'm the exact polar opposite. I just derp and like run out into open fields thinking I'm totally fine. Nobody's going to see me. Dead.
Yo, I do that shit I do both of those things like still all the time in this game. So like it's totally natural.
Linz, you want to tell us about your recent gaming adventures?
Yeah, sure. Um, so from the gods of music games,
Mm-hmm.
Harmonix, we have a new game coming out, or it might have just dropped. It's called Fuser. And where Activision failed miserably with DJ Hero,
Mm-hmm.
Harmonix has gotten this right. It is so fucking fantastic. Basically, you're at a music festival, anybody can play. You get a whole shit ton of samples or a whole shit ton of songs that you can see along the top edge of the screen. And then you choose what aspect of that track you're going to throw in. So you grab your bass, your drums, your mids, and your vocals. And it also gives you the option to be able to like add two separate drum lines. For example, like I've just tooled around with the demo. I am saving up to actually buy this game because I was having a really bad day when I grabbed the demo, and this within the length of the demo, which is not long at all, I ended up completely back at ease again. Also learning that Bad Guy by Billie Eilish, All Star by Smash Mouth, and Killing in the Name of by Rage Against the Machine work really well together. And I'm trying to figure out how, but they just do. But like you have to drop on your downbeats, like switch your aspects of your track up. You'll get audience requests of like, "Hey, I would really love to hear this type of music or from this era," or and by running those, you get more points, increases your star level, further you progress. It's just amazing. Like, I am absolutely in love with this game. They have done it so well and so smooth, and just, I'm flat out impressed. There's apparently over 100 tracks that you get access to with the purchase of the game. The demo gives you access to like 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
And even those were a varied enough set of styles. Like, I was mashing up Cardi B and Bad Bunny and Smash Mouth and a little bit of Rage Against the Machine. Like, just the separate genres that you can pull together to actually make really awesome sounding tracks is amazing. So highly, highly recommend. And I was super excited that I got to play around with this because Coop is perpetually criticizing me for playing old games. And this is one from this year.
I mean, it's not wrong.
I like old games. I'm nostalgic. But no, this is absolutely incredible. You don't have to be into EDM. I mean, I think the only EDM song that was available in the demo was Ghosts and Stuff by Skrillex. And I mean, being able to play with like the vocals from that and then put like the bad guy mids um was just insane. So highly, highly, highly recommend. And yeah, like there's freestyle, there's your campaign, there's co-op freestyle, you can do battles, like many, many game modes to play with. And they walk you through and they make it very easy to understand how this game works versus just throwing you into the deep end.
All right. How does it feel like dropping between? Does it just like does it feel intuitive or
Incredibly. So, like, you'll notice that each one of those tracks, like each one of those pieces, is a different color.
Mhm.
And playing on Switch, you use your left analog to select which album you're running off of. And then as you mouse over it, it'll show you in the same pattern as your A, B, X, Y buttons, which part corresponds to which button.
okay?
So, like, for example, if I was dropping vocals, it would be on shit. I don't have a controller in front of me. It would be on A. If
Okay.
I was dropping uh a bass line, it would be off of B, you know? Um and it flows really easily. It gives you the little counter that you see going along the top edge of the deck.
Mhm.
But then when you're mousing over actual albums as well, it gives you that count to show you where your downbeat is.
Okay. So
So,
if you were to drop in all vocals, would the game absolutely hate you?
no,
Oh,
it totally encourages you to do stuff like that. Like I was running with All Stars drumline and the drumline from Ghost and Stuff with the bass line of Killing in the Name of and the vocals from whatever the hell Cardi B song I was working with. And it surprisingly worked.
all right. Cool.
So, and I
How
mean, like, you don't have to know anything about music production to enjoy it. Like, it's like the Guitar Hero or the Rock Band games. Like, jump in, dick around, have fun.
is it hard to fuck up?
Yes,
Okay.
it is incredibly difficult to fuck up because what I've noticed is with the tracks, they've edited the tempos of them. So, like, the set of tracks that you have, they've been edited so they're all running at the same tempo. So you have almost seamless blends.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's a consistent downbeat on every single one of them, which is great.
Cool.
If you've got a Switch, I highly recommend grabbing the demo. It's tiny, it's short, you can blow through it in like 20 minutes, but worth it just to poke at it and see if it's something for you. Cause like I did, and I'm just like, yep, nope, this game is being purchased. It is next on the wish list. So, and they've released it for PC as well. I think it's like being sold through Epic, and I think a few other consoles as well. Definitely Switch and PC though.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I love all of the games this company makes, even the bad ones. So like, I'll eventually get into it, and considering how fast I'm churning through my current game, that may be sooner than later, but does sound cool actually. It sounds, now that I see it like actually being played by especially a live human being, it kind of makes a
Hmm.
bit more sense in my head.
Yeah, it's a super intuitive to the people who are passionate about music but new to production.
Mm,
And just
awesome.
the mashups that you can make it's just so ridiculous.
All right. So the big release from the last week, of course, has been what I've been playing. I've been excited and talking about this game for like the last forever. So
Oh,
really,
the Groupon game. I
yeah,
haven't played
absolutely.
that yet. How's the handling on it?
It's a Groupon game, Karen Simulator.
Oh, Jesus. No, that exists somewhere. I don't ever want to see it ever.
Well, if you buy 4, you get a 5th at 20% off, so, I'd recommend it. No, of course, it's Resident Evil 8, and after Resident Evil 7, I was terrible at that game. I didn't get far, but I was really excited to see where they went with it. Not just because of Giant Lady. By the way, I'm going to be playing watching gameplay of the first, little bit of it and probably talking around the first 30 minutes. So, if you really don't want that first bit of spoiler, I completely understand. You can tune me out for 15 minutes. But I'm not going to try to spoil anything that will really ruin your gameplay. So you play again as the protagonist from Resident Evil 7, the man who cannot keep a hand about him, Ethan Winters. So very much hand trauma that this poor boy experiences, which I understand because it's first person and your hands are the things that you can see the most. So give people the body horror in that area, and they will absolutely eat it up. For reasons the fuck beyond me, after surviving a horrible child that tries to murder him and his wife escape from Resident Evil 7, spoilers there, and have a child. And they have moved into a house together, and apparently Ethan, I never remember his last name.
Winters.
Winters, yeah. So Ethan was the one that saved him during from the last game at the very end, and apparently they've been keeping an eye on him. And he puts his baby down to sleep here, and then shenanigans happen, and I'll let you watch that shit, but this game goes heavy on the goddamn ridiculous, and I love it for that. The game basically gives you 4 different Hideo Kojima reject bosses that you toy around with during the course of the game. So you'll often hear people say, "Oh, Boss 2 was amazing," or things along those lines. By the way, worth the price of admission itself for Boss 2. I'm not all the way done with it, but I hear it drops in quality towards the end. That's at least the mainline feeling from people, but I absolutely love the way this game looks and feels. For one, this will make some people mad, I know, but the enemies that you fight are way easier in this compared to Resident Evil 7. So you're not going to be grip tight the whole time with this. And for me, it makes it funner to play that I don't have to carefully plan every encounter. I do have to, move around, make sure that I'm kiting enemies right and everything. But still, you do not have to be a master of this game to play it. It helps that there is a crafting system that allows you to craft whatever weaponry you might need at a given time. So you're probably going to run out of specific items, bullets, etc. at certain points of the game, sure, but you're never going to be completely without options, and that really keeps it from fucking around with you too hard. Obviously, more of a problem on hard, but I have never run into a situation in this game ever of running out completely of weapons. So if you're like me and want the experience more than the knuckle biting gameplay, this might be for you as well. Another quality of life upgrade that fucking blew my mind when I saw it, and is just a tiny thing, but you get a map in this game, that displays whether or not you have completely combed through an area. So just knowing, oh shit, there's more stuff left in here. I spend so much of my time in this game just like bumping up to things, staring at the ceiling, going, is there anything here? And I can't explain why that is ridiculously fun. But this game is beautiful and sets up a huge scavenger hunt. I'd say 25% of the game, especially the parts in the village itself, are primarily scavenger hunt oriented, and I fucking love those bits. Um, yeah, it never really goes hard on, hey, you need to be a master of using all of these weapons, at least to the parts of the game I've been in so far. You don't have to get off perfect headshots in this game. It does help because you are more likely to get critical head explosions through headshots, but it's certainly not required. Um, the bosses are kind of a letdown. None of them are really anything I would like take home and talk about. Yeah, for the most part, nothing is really a bullet sponge enemy in 8. Um,
Hmm.
like you may have to get off like 10 to 12 handgun shots, and especially with some of the modifications you can make to the weapons, you can get that pretty easily. So, if you like your horror on the wacky side, and don't get me wrong, there's lots of body horror, gore, etc. in this game. But they knew what the fuck they were doing when they wrote this, because there is a lot of this game that feels extremely tongue-in-cheek ridiculous to me. Especially this intro when everything goes to shit. Um, like, I know you could take it in a really dramatic way, and it is kind of, it's definitely something that would be trauma if it actually happened to a person. But watching it play out in this game, to me, just strikes my, well, that was goddamn ridiculous. Why did that just happen? Areas. And, God, so much of the logic of the game is truly fever dream inspired, and I love that shit. I will eat it up, and it is genuinely, if Hideo Kojima made a Resident Evil game, I think it would play a lot like this.
Are there a lot of things that jump out and go boo?
Not really. Like, there are certainly jump scares, but they're not very prevalent in this one, especially compared to Resident Evil 7 with a plethora of jump scares.
Hmm. I think I'm still too chicken for it, so I'll settle for your recaps.
Yeah, I'd recommend at least watching someone play this. Like, and I will tell everyone who listens, watch the second area. If you do not play, at least watch it. It is gloriously fucked up in a way that they could only have done like with a next gen console properly. The As you can see, like, the textures are really what sells the game. Like, sometimes there is pop in, but none of it, except for one of the areas, really like registers as dark and gross and grody. It uh it more plays off of conceptions and, like, you know, fears that people might have, rather than just being, oh, this is fucking gross and here's a monster popping out of the wall.
I might like poke Peter and get him to play it so I can watch. But something tells me watching like video playthroughs of it and stuff like that would frustrate me because I have a habit in even the lamest of horror movies of screaming at the protagonist and getting pissed off when they turn left instead of right.
Oh, Ethan is a
So
goddamn idiot in this game, and he will just stand there all of the time when dumb shit is happening and just talk when like maybe he should be running.
Oh no.
Okay, this scene is goddamn ridiculous. Just how many bullets this lady takes up now, considering that anything can be rebuilt regardless in the new world of Resident Evil. I'm not terribly concerned, but Jesus Christ.
Oh, so they partnered with Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
I am no longer interested.
Yeah, it's a Quentin Tarantino Hideo Kojima joint. It is just oh so ridiculous. Dialed to 11. It's great.
I mean, Tarantino law is if it can be excessive, make it excessive.
True fact. And I guess with that we should probably get to the first little bits of, store not story things going on in the gaming world. Obviously starting with this, I did it last so I could segue into bits of reporting, starting with GameIndustry.biz and Christopher Dring. So you don't routinely get a lot of information that isn't in some way filtered in most countries. So getting the UK box chart, since the UK has to report everything, tends to be a great way to get information. Now, of course, sometimes digital sales differ a whole lot from box sales, etc. But probably surprising nobody, Resident Evil Village has taken the number one spot in current sales. Basically taking over everything. It is the third biggest PS5 launch insofar, behind Spider-Man Miles Morales and Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Miles Morales, especially, not being a surprise that it is the big one so far. It was, launch title as well as being something that fans had been chomping for. So this is not a bad place to be number 3 in. Now that the console is approaching a year or so old, it's starting to actually have a library, so it seems to be doing well on sales within that area. As well, it's shown to have done pretty darn well on Steam. And likely has long-term sales possibilities. Resident Evil tends to be a game series that doesn't like die after the next one comes out, because each one tells its own unique story that all just fits together in, a ongoing chronological order.
Yeah, no, I mean the numbers look really good for this one. Obviously they're down compared to Resident Evil 7, but I think
Yeah.
that's because I think Resident Evil 7 had a lot more hype around it going into it, even though this one had Lady D and all of the surrounding minutia of that whole movement there. But yeah, like the sales numbers are looking good, and right now on Steam it's in the top 10 most like concurrent players, I want to say. It's the only single player game that's in that top 10, by the way. The rest of the stuff in there is multiplayer. So um yeah, it's got some legs. It's got some popularity here so far, even if it's not reviewing as particularly as well as 7 did.
Mm.
One of the things I've been hearing and reading is that Capcom, after 7 launched, whenever they were making 8, like looked at how people responded to the horror in 7, and we're like, maybe we don't make this one as scary. And some people that played 7 are kind of upset about that.
Yeah, that is very true. Like a lot of the fan base that loved the direction 7 took, I know are not appreciating the heavy reliance on camp in this one, but I think for players like myself, they took the right direction for me. I cannot speak for other people, but so far I dig it.
No, I mean, and that's perfectly fine. You need to, find the right balancing act with this, what these games want to be. It's just very interesting to see how patterns are cyclical in that way because,
Mhm.
like, Resident Evil 4 was celebrated, lauded, one of the better games like of all time in some people's eyes.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 5, pretty good, kind of odd in some choices, but good. And then Resident Evil 6 was just, we left that in the bottom of the trash can. Um, Resident Evil 7,
Yeah.
widely celebrated, beloved by a lot of people. Resident Evil 8,
Pretty
it,
good.
it's good. It's good. I just that's the thing. It's just like I don't want that triplet to happen again. I don't want Resident Evil 9 to be the next Resident Evil 6. So I'm hoping that they find somewhere to stick the landing coming out of this. But the numbers are good, and that's good for them. The numbers are good.
Yeah, like it got a fairly above average Metacritic, not great. A lot of people, like you said, attribute it to the less it the lesser difficulty and not relying on classic horror as much as Resident Evil 7 did require of you as well. From what everyone has said, the ending is not as good as the rest of the game, at least the second half of the game. As well, I can verify the boss fights kind of suck. They're not bad on a level of Death Stranding per se, but they're they're lackluster. They're not memorable. Yeah, Graves, I'd say Resident Evil 8 is better than Resident Evil 5, but again, it really depends upon what you want to get out of your game, whether you will like 8 or not. I think it purely runs on, do you want that gripping gameplay that, truly challenges you, or do you want a fun game that is very light on the action sequences and much higher on the scavenger hunt and fucking around with odd things that go on around you?
To be clear, I wasn't trying to make a direct comparison between 8 and 5 with that. It was just more so looking at how Capcom continues to approach further games in the series based off of the previous entries and that sort of thing. You
Oh,
know, because like a lot of the adjustments that were made to 5 coming out of 4 weren't for the best. And I'm not saying that 8 isn't good because I haven't played it. And a lot of things I've heard about it so far like do interest me, but at the same time, like you want Capcom to keep finding the right avenue.
yeah.
And the last triplet of these games clearly did not find that right avenue. They kept finding a worse one. So I'm just hoping that like they can find some consistency going forward.
I think it helped
Okay.
7 as well. It had been a long time since the last Resident Evil, especially the last loved Resident Evil.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's been like 2 console generations.
Yeah.
So, I would like to ask a question that I often ask when we're dealing with subsequent games and series. If I've never touched a Resident Evil game in my life, could I jump into 8 fine?
Absolutely. There is no requirement that you know shit all about the characters within the game. It really doesn't reference old characters a whole lot other than our main character, his wife, and your army benefactor. And the game will ask you, do you want a recap? And the game will recap the whole thing for you, all of the bits that you honestly need. It's real short, and because there's not a lot to know.
Okay.
Yeah, like a lot of cool things happen in Resident Evil 7. Don't get me wrong, but like it's not stuff that's really necessary to know in order to understand where the plot goes.
I mean, 7 was very much felt like a reboot in a way. Not necessarily a reboot, but like we just left this story hanging for years, and we're just not even going to pick up with what might have happened in the wake of 6. We're just going to jump you back into this world at some point in time later, and fuck off with all that other shit. Like we're just back into this, and there's some fucked up stuff happening. Oopsies.
Yeah, we'll get back to Wesker is a weirdo part 7.
I would argue that you never need to get back to Wesker as a weirdo part 7 ever. But that's just me. Maybe.
I mean, Wesker's a fan favorite, like, but they milked that well way too hard for damn sure.
Yeah, they did.
So
Anyway,
yeah, our next story, equally ridiculous. We're gonna talk a little bit the Epic versus Apple lawsuit, and so far, the biggest thing people are taking away from this is that the game industry is fucking ridiculous. And I know that us and our viewers probably are really well aware that the game industry is really ridiculous. But Brendan Sinclair has been listening in. It's not hard to listen in. You can basically get a transcript at any time.
also a bunch of people are pirating the stream.
Yeah. So this information is pretty easily available at this point, but he's been going through and getting some of the most ridiculous parts from this. For instance, Your Honor, Epic wants to reach customers lost inside Apple's walled garden. He said in an opening statement about the plight of having to pay 20% more for V-Bucks when you were buying from Apple. Customers lost within the walled garden.
This whole thing has just been one of the most ridiculous things to follow over the past week so far. And there have been plenty of highlights, like you said, that many that have been collected in this piece here. One of some of my personal favorites so far is the I think it was either the judge or one of the attorneys for Apple. No, it was the judge. It was the judge asking Tim Sweeney if he would recognize a PS5. Um,
Oh
al-
God.
Also, at the very beginning, before they muted all the voice channels of people watching the stream of the case, you had a bunch of kids on there just screaming "Free Fortnite," which is awesome. And then and probably the one that was the most frustratingly funny to me was whenever Apple's lawyers brought up the fact that Epic now hosts the itch.io app on the Epic Game Store. I don't know if y'all saw the exchanges from that or not,
Oh
but I'm
yes.
gonna. Oh yeah,
Yes.
I'm just gonna I'm gonna post that in the chat for everybody if they want to read a little bit about that from The Verge here,
The
because
unmentionables.
the unspeakable games. Oh my god, yeah. So basically, they were like the Apple's lawyers brought up Itch and just was like, look at all the titles of these games that are just offensive and sexualized. Things like Lady Binder in a, a grip, or like what was it? Oh, what was the name of the damn game that they brought up the most? There was one, or was it? Damn it, I just lost it and it ran out of my head. Oh god, it'll come back to me. It'll come back to me here.
Itch.io's tweet was awesome.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
Oh.
Guys, Apple's lawyers just called. They said we need to turn off all of the games. Games are now illegal.
Just so bad. Oh god. Sisterly Lust. That was the game that they brought up by name. Sisterly Lust. And like the Apple's attorneys just kept trying to like create this narrative of like the fact that Epic hosts the itch.io app on their store, like they are like responsible for like creating the terms of service for creators on that platform as well, and basically generalized everything on itch as being incredibly offensive and hypersexualized and things that kids should not be in engaging with, which I mean, yeah, there's definitely stuff on there that kids should not be engaging
Oh,
with, and
absolutely.
those things are like labeled as such for the most part. But also, Itch is a amazing platform where a lot of alternative and queer creators put out really experimental and fascinating things, and I love it to death. And I will go to bat with this stupid Apple attorney who wants to sit there and say that the queer game site is just too offensive and unspeakable for you to host it on your thing. Um, but this did turn out fun in a way because, like Lindsay said, Itch's tweet was just great. Games are now illegal. Hashtag games are now illegal, and also the fact that now we have a new game jam that has been created out of it called the Unspeakable Jam. That runs until June 12th. All entries must follow Apple executive Tristan Kozminka's instruction that games, quote, have a beginning and end. There's challenges in place.
Okay.
So,
So, going along with this ridiculousness,
Yeah.
were you aware that they were also fighting over a quote naked banana?
Yeah.
oh yeah, yep. That dumb banana.
And the fact that the attorneys are just throwing out additional bullshit along those lines. So that banana isn't a tuxedo. Yes, that's Peely. And so in that tuxedo, he's known as Agent Peely, correct? Yes. We thought it might be better to go with the suit than the naked banana since we are in federal court this morning. Like, come on! My brain is broken.
There we go. That's the part. Addie Robertson here has been making threads, basically putting the best of the best lines as they come out
Oh
into
yeah.
this thread.
Oh, another fun one. Apparently, at that Tristan Kozminka, why that line about the unspeakable games was used as the direction for the Unspeakable Jam is because that's the line that they used whenever they were describing Roblox and apparently Minecraft as well, to say that Roblox and Minecraft are not fucking games.
I beg pardon?
Yeah,
I
because
have
there's
the
no
whole
objective.
yeah. I have the whole quote. There's no end. There's no end to it. The whole
Dude,
quote.
in
Roblox.
Minecraft, there literally is a place called The End.
Tim
And it is part of
Sweeney.
your objective to get there to beat the Ender Dragon.
This is my favorite quote from Tim Sweeney. Many Fortnite players are kids, and their friendships are being torn apart by Sony's segregation of players on competing platforms.
God. Just God.
Oh,
This is insane.
to what Lindsay said, Roblox is an app in which users create a profile, hang out with their friends, and they can join in these experiences that I would look at as content. And so if you think of a game or an app, games are incredibly dynamic. Games have a beginning and an end. There are challenges in place. I look at the experiences that are in Roblox, similar to the experiences that are in Minecraft. These are maps, these are worlds, and they have boundaries in terms of what they're capable of. So I would think while the email suggests that these are games, that's not how we looked at it. And that's why it's compliant with the rules today.
So, wait, I've got a question on this.
Yeah.
So, games have a beginning and an end, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 2, Diablo, these aren't actually games then, because there is no real end. It's just an endless grind.
Yeah, Binding of Isaac, Hades, almost any roguelike you could talk of. Yeah, they're
Well,
not
Hades has
games.
an end.
Like, it has an end to, like, the overall storyline, but you keep going because there's more to do, even after you've got the gods happy.
Oh, I understand that.
Mm.
Just being
Yeah.
a stickler.
But it doesn't have like a congratulations, you win, game is over.
No, it does not. No, it does
Stat
not.
2 and counting.
So-
The number of times attorneys have asked witnesses if Stadia has been shut down. Stat 0. The number of witnesses who are able to confidently say Stadia still exists.
Just God. Like, there's a lot of just like really peculiar things to pick and choose from coming out of all this stuff this week. But there was one legitimate thing that was it came out of the testimony last week that was super interesting to watch play out in like how video game companies interact with one another, because there was an Xbox executive that was called to the stand, and was asked and basically on the stand it said that, like, Xbox hardware, like the console sales, they have not been sold at profit and have not made a profit off of the sale of Xbox consoles.
Mm.
Um, and immediately after that statement, then I believe it was either later that day or the next day, Xbox released a statement saying, like, we make money on Xbox.
We're profitable. We're hugely profitable. You should see our profits. They're giant. Don't
But
look at us
but
as losing.
But then the lawyers took that statement from Xbox, brought it back into the court as a way of negating that executive's testimony of saying, like, look at this. Her own company that says the exact opposite of what she's saying. This is all invalid. Come on. You got to take this with a grain of salt, big old grain of salt. Like, it's just so it's just so over the top and ridiculous, and nothing. It really doesn't feel like a ton of the questions that we want to have answered and all of this are being answered. We're getting a lot of fun, interesting like looks into some books, as another story we have here lined up in this segment. Did you know that Epic tried to make a deal with Sony to get first party Sony games on the Epic Game Store for PC? Because that happened.
Nintendo talks a non-starter. No shit that Nintendo wouldn't want their shit on the PC. Like, some of these, like, I could see Epic's idea, but having the balls to walk into Sony and being like, yeah, we'll give you $200 million for getting 4 to 6 exclusive ports just to Epic. Crazy.
Yeah, and the other the interesting thing to come out of some of the financials too was the fact, looking at how um, the deal between Epic and Sony for activating crossplay for Fortnite on the PlayStation came about, and some of the details around that, because basically Sony put in a safeguard where, like, because these platforms, whatever platform you're playing on, if you're spending your V-Bucks or buying your V-Bucks through that platform, like, if the platform would get a cut. Obviously that's the main reason why Epic and Apple are even in this court case. You know, and so Sony, and apparently in their deal with Epic, put in a thing there where, like, if people playing Fortnite on PlayStation went and bought their V-Bucks on like Android or whatever, since everything crosses over in that way, Sony, like, Epic still has to pay Sony a monetary value to keep that pipeline open, to keep that crossplay pipeline open. So they have a safeguard in there, even if players like want to go and buy their currency somewhere else other than the PlayStation, they still make money off of it.
I thought it was a case of if you purchase it on one platform, it's only accessible on that platform.
I think they might have altered that.
Because I know
Um,
that's the way it was before when Epic first started with the shenanigans of putting their own payment portal into the iOS versions.
yes, I think okay. So you can. I think if you purchase V Bucks, they're not transferable. But if you purchase V Bucks and then buy items, those are transferable.
Yes, the
Yeah,
V-Bucks themselves aren't though.
exactly. That's what I mean. So like, if people are going to Android to buy stuff, and then using those items in the Sony store, the Sony still has a safeguard in there to be like, hey, we're not getting our V Bucks cut. Cut us a check, Epic. You know. So
Or
it's just
one of my favorite stats here, 1.8, the number of cents Epic wound up paying developer 6 foot for every free copy of Rhyme given away through the Epic Game Store in 2019 promotion.
Ouch.
1.8 cents. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I have to imagine a lot of the people who picked up Rhyme, including myself, never actually installed or played it. So this is basically free money in that way for them. So it's probably not as bad as it sounds, but at that number, it really does sound horrifying on the cover of it.
uh,
Yeah.
it's just a lot, and like there's a lot more buried in all this about the actual like you know looking at Apple's app store as this walled garden,
Mm.
and why Epic brought this case to begin with, as well as frustrating as Epic's tactics were in doing it. Um, like there's a whole bunch of stuff to really unpack here, but the things that are rising to the top are just the complete like the more ridiculous things that usually come out of these sort of interactions between the legal system or the more unfamiliar communities to the admittedly complex and hard to wrap your head around sometimes inner workings of the game industry.
Yeah, it's fun watching all of the little foibles that are coming out in this case. Not the case doesn't seem to be bringing out actual arguments of, why walled gardens are bad for anybody. Much to the opposite, it's just making everyone look really goddamn silly.
Yeah.
While we're in legal realms, Sony is facing a lawsuit over PlayStation Store exclusivity. Um, it's basically as it sounds. We're all aware that, 2 years ago it was when Sony stopped allowing third parties, basically GameStop and other retailers, from selling Sony products for a digital download key through a physical retailer, saying that we can only sell digital copies ourselves, in order to allow us to support our full and premium editions so that we can make sure that the price is correct.
This this is another interesting one personally for me because this has been the main complaint for a lot of people, not even looking at them pulling their digital code sales from third party brick and mortar stores, but just looking at digital sales in general about how static prices are
Mhm.
for the most part. Um, and this is not exclusive to Sony either. I mean, how many times have we sat here and poked the bear of Nintendo about how their first party games never, ever, ever, ever drop in price, no matter like how many years removed they are from release. I'm sure Breath of the Wild is still $60 right now.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. It
yeah.
was $40 for a very short period.
So was Odyssey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like in that instance, like I totally agree with the mindset behind this. Like for me, Sony, especially with first party stuff, they have every right to keep those exclusive to their digital store. I don't see that as a monopolistic practice, honestly. Uh, but the fact that they are using that to keep prices at stagnant at full sale price that they were at launch and not dropping those competitively over the course of time, yes, that creates a frustration. So it might cause their practice of keeping third party digital sales out of the hands of the GameStops and Best Buys of the world to negate some of that stuff. I don't know. I haven't done enough research to see how much of a leg the case has to stand on at the moment, but like this has been a long time coming, honestly. And let's be real, I think a lot of those brick and mortar stores want this case to um, open those coffers up again because, like, yeah, like these are like physical game sales, like the price on stuff drops very not necessarily quickly, but it does drop aligned with market for the most part.
Mm.
But at the same time, digital is where it's at. Digital is where it's moving
Yeah.
for the longest time. So like you need, but so to have those marketplaces be comparable, you need to figure out like when prices need to drop in that way. Especially if you're going to keep raising the prices of games. You have PS5 games coming out at $70 now. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how this plays out, but I'm not surprised at all that this case is coming.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. It's long overdue, really.
Yeah.
And as we go through the money train, let's talk about Humble as their own retailer. Of course, last week we talked a little bit about, I believe, anyway, um, them changing the sliders so you couldn't throw a whole bunch of money at charity and only 15%. They've gone back to the slider method, at least for now, after a whole lot of people complained, and they're going to go back to what they were doing. And honestly, I think that's just them saying, okay, you caught us for now, but we'll go back to finding a way to make it better for our third, our clients that don't want to give to charity. Is what I feel like it boils down to.
So is that why they wanted to keep you from donating all the funds they were spending to charity?
I don't
I don't
have
know.
any.
I haven't heard much about this, so I'm just curious.
I don't have any real proof, tangible. I've heard some people talking about it, but not that there is proof of anything. Um, there's just some talk about maybe they were missing out on getting some major deals because of the amount of money that might potentially go to charity instead of the developer.
Okay,
But that is just the rumor and scuttlebutt.
cool.
I'm sorry, if you want to make full price off your games, go sell on a different storefront.
That's what they seem to be doing.
Go to Epic. Wait, no, you might get listed as a free game. Go to Steam. No, no. What about App? No, no. Yeah, you're fucked. Sorry.
Go to itch, become unspeakable.
Like every storefront is going to have its foibles, because hey, that is kind of the deal we have with capitalism right now, and that's a whole conversation that probably isn't appropriate for a show where we're talking about video games. But hey, we're in the system, and that's going to produce situations like this. um, I don't know. This whole thing, especially turning around like just a few days after and going, no, 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 I'm sorry, please come back. It's just amazing.
Well, I mean, because that's the thing is like, if you're going to doing this, really feels like they're flying in the face of the entire idea of why the Humble Bundle store started to begin with, or why Humble Bundle in general, before the store even existed, why it started to begin with. So if you're moving away from those things, like you're completely changing the identity of what that is supposed to be, and at that point, like, you're going to lose the people that invested in what Humble Bundle was for if you keep trying to change its identity in that way. And I know that like Humble's gone through some changes. I know they've been purchased by I think they were purchased by J2 Global, which is the same company that owns IGN. So like, obviously there are people above them that might have different ideas of what to do with that store. So in a way, like the capitalistic sense of those entities might be infiltrating what Humble Bundle once was, and so like that sucks.
Yeah,
And hopefully they can figure out something to do with this, because Humble Bundle, they made their entire name off of this model, you know. And if you're going to do away with the model, don't be surprised if the people that really like pumped you up for so long because of the good work you were doing in this sector, like walk away from you because of the changes that have been made. Like it's just science. That's
yeah.
how these things work.
Like I know that there during especially the early days of Humble Bundle, where it was just, hey, here's bundle number 4 with all of these games. I was literally every time just bumping the payment to donations to 100%. Um, and yeah, that's kind of what made Humble Bundle such a beloved thing amongst gamers. Is it was a way to get an incentive to donate to charity, right? That was kind of how most of us saw it. Instead, it's more becoming a storefront rather than a way to donate to charity, and that's a weird transition that I don't think a lot of people are going to love, but that's the model they went with.
Yeah.
While we're in problem storefronts, let's talk a little about Stadia. Continuing to do well. Uh, no thanks. I'm not going to tell you about ourselves right now. Uh, Vice President and Head of Product at Stadia, John Justice.
Wow, that's a name.
Yeah, I just want to pause on that name for a minute. John Justice clearly could only do amazing things with his life, yet somehow ended up the head of product at Stadia. I am sorry that your name clearly has gone through its lowest point at this time. Clearly, you thought you were, hey, I'm with Google. Google does great things. But he has left the company, leaving another slot in the Stadia pipeline gone, after losing their developers and losing so many other things. It's just another cut now at this point, and a very cut beast.
I'm sorry for chat.
I mean, his name, I wish was my name too.
It's stuck in my head. I'm sorry. But no, you're right. Like, this does not look good for Stadia.
No, nothing has looked good for Stadia for a while. I just love watching the burning effigy so much and just laugh as it burns, and they yet continue to send me free Stadias.
They are desperate. They are mighty desperate.
So yeah, a lot of people previously of Stadia games have now founded or joined, I should say, Haven Studios, looking to make a PlayStation game. So at least the people who had a fallout, in this article even mentions a recent resignation of Stadia. They're landing on their feet because Stadia hired the best of the best and then did fuck all with it.
I mean, at least Jade Raymond was able to find a lot of people that she enjoyed working with and wooed them over to her studio as soon as she left Stadia as well. So in that instance, like shout out Jade Raymond. Hopefully, finally, she has a place where she'll stay for an extended amount of time. She has changed jobs so many times in the past like 5 to 6 years. I feel bad. So
Yeah,
yeah. So
actually get
I'm
a product out the door.
yeah, like Haven, oh have fun working on your thing, and obviously this speaks to the talent that was there, and so like it's one of those things where I don't necessarily think that internal development at Stadia was shut down because of the team that they had built.
No.
I think like many things, and this is what we talked about whenever they announced Stadia to even begin with, a few years ago. Google is impatient with its toys,
Yes.
and it is very fickle with them, and will move on to new ones very quickly. And this exactly displays that for everyone to see.
Yeah, if Google can't get a perfect product right out the bat, then this seems to be what you end up with. And, it's just gone and further proven their track record again. That the moment that anything isn't absolutely perfect, it is time to completely fucking bail out. There's got to be a good middle ground between Google and Amazon, between the just continue of funneling even more money at it, because eventually something good has to come out of it mentality that Amazon has, and then Google just kind of whimpering out without making anything great come out of it, you know? It's just weird.
I mean, you have two companies that have never been involved in gaming really trying to get into this sphere, and it just goes to show how hard it is to really become a player in this. Like, you can't just be a big tech company and to say, "Oh, well, we want to add a gaming department." You know, like that's just not how these things work. And like give Amazon at least the smallest modicum of credit because they actually did put a game out, even if they did delist it almost immediately, it at least went out the door for a short amount of time. So they did more than Stadia ever did with their internal development team, which is saying something. Um, but that being said, like it can't you have to treat these things with the amount of respect they demand, And clearly, Google, Amazon, and those two really are the two main examples here. Those two companies did not respect what it takes to be in this sector,
Mhm.
and a bunch of people have had their lives played with because of it, and it's extremely frustrating that because of some fucking Silicon Valley hubris, you've had a bunch of people have to uproot their lives multiple times now because of all this stuff. So hopefully, Haven provides a good, stable place for these former Stadia devs, and we get something rad out of it. You know,
like folks forget that when Microsoft joined the competition between Sony and Nintendo, that people laughed at Microsoft, and the first Xbox took a long time to really get widespread appeal. It was a joke for the longest time.
And even then, it's only gotten appeal in North America and Europe.
Yeah.
It's still. Think about this. It's been 20 plus years,
Mm.
or right around 20 years actually. Yeah, right around 20 years since the first Xbox launched. And think about how much of a stake of the Japanese gaming market Xbox has carved out in that time. It is minuscule.
But they know their market and they keep going at it. And, you know, you have to give at least that much to Microsoft.
Exactly. They respected the game before
Yeah.
they got into it.
Like, yeah, they already knew how to make sure games do good before they even came in. So they knew it was, you know, a long uphill thing, and they said that like there's going to be huge losses at first.
Google's just like, we'll host Don't Starve in the browser. If we can do that, that means we can make games.
Derp.
Just
Like,
one more little thing to poke at Stadia for. Since inception, you could basically use other gamepads. You could use your PlayStation gamepad or your Xbox gamepad to play Stadia games on your PC if you wanted to. But in order to have that full, robust experience with playing on the TV, you had to have the controller and the connection. Hey, at least now, it looks like they're fixing the latest version of Chromebook or not Chromebook,
Chromecast?
Chromecast to actually run Stadia, which, considering that their most recent Chromecast can't run, couldn't run Stadia for ages, is kind of hilarious.
So, real quick, is this for the new Chromecast, like the Chromecast with Google TV that was released last year, or is this still for the Chromecast Ultra that came out last gen? That is the only thing that you can connect the actual Stadia controller to.
you know, I thought it was also for Chromecast, the Chromecast TV, but I still don't think the Chromecast TV, like, reading over this a little bit more carefully, I still don't think you can.
I don't think you can either. I still think it's still only the Chromecast Ultra.
Yeah, the Chromecast
I
Ultra.
could be wrong about that. So I could be wrong about that. I haven't read the full report from I haven't read every little detail of it. I've read the report, but either way though, you know, you say that now you can connect other controllers to it, but it's so convoluted. It's so convoluted.
Oh, absolutely. This is such
So
a weird number of steps since you have to have a PC to connect them to in the first place.
oh God. So what is it? You have to have the Stadia app on Android that will send controller signals from your phone to the Stadia.
Hmm.
And if you want to actually connect a controller through it, you have to connect the controller to the phone so that it sends the controller signals through the phone to the Chromecast.
Yeah, it's either phone or any, like, I think the PC can Bluetooth send now to. I might gotta get me reading that wrong.
If your PC has a Bluetooth module built in,
True.
which mine doesn't.
You know what else I can do? I can just launch GeForce Now on my fucking laptop and
Like,
play my shit.
yeah, you can launch Stadia on your laptop at any time and play with any controller. Fuck, I usually use my Xbox controller when I play Stadia on PC.
Oh
But
yeah, no. I understand that. I was just saying, like, just fucking don't even engage with the Stadia ecosystem and just boot up GeForce now and use that to play my shit
Yeah,
and fuck a TV. It's like,
just the fact that it took this long to have a convoluted workaround to being a little bit freer, and you still have to have that Chromecast Ultra, but not the new TV one with the added features to the TV, because Google cannot keep all of the little bits of their ecosystems working together happily. If they add another one, it just means that they'll forget to add the right parts into the next thing they make.
it's no wonder that nobody can figure out if Stadia still exists in the Epic versus Apple trial, because there's every detail that comes out about it nowadays just makes it seem like a fucking practical joke.
Oh, it's so goddamn hilarious, and I can't wait to watch it go down in flames and fire. It's a matter of time at this point.
So bad.
But
I
hey, let's
remember the before times
yeah,
when we
when we
had
were
to have a
talking
phone.
excitedly.
Before we figured out exactly how they were going to execute all this stuff, because they
Yeah.
had no idea how to actually execute a lot of this stuff. I'm just like, you know what? Honestly, I joke about GeForce Now. That's not what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do.
Mm.
I'm going to boot up I'm going to boot up xCloud because they're launching it in beta for people to use on PCs now. So there's no need to even have Stadia anymore.
No,
In my mind, at least.
no, I entirely agree with you. There's no reason to have Stadia. I would never recommend Stadia to anyone at this point.
Maybe consoles aren't necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, get a console. In fact, if you have to go with something that yeah, is going to play you stuff online because your PC is a piece of shit and you can't afford a new console. Okay, fine. Join the Xbox thing. Then you get a shit ton of free games as well. There,
Or,
yeah.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Or, like I said before, just sign up for a free account on GeForce Now because it's free and you
Mhm.
get an hour of using their servers to play shit that would not run on your PCs like I do.
All right. Moving more into upcoming things. This is just cool as hell to me that Nintendo has been doing a lot of really interesting creative ideas, and I mean literally creative ideas like building things. I know I was one of the few people who really thought that the Labo experiments were pretty cool. But now they're putting out Game Builder Garage. It is a way for you to build video games that teaches you as you go how to build your games and how parts and bits work together to make the games you play.
This
Oh,
is fucking dope.
yeah.
Yeah, it's literally a month away, and I am real fucking excited for this. This was the quickest pre order of my life.
This is something that I wish Nintendo had put out when I was a kid.
Same.
Because like this is like something that I would have been fully engrossed in as a child, just like learning how to play video games and like just imagining even what goes into developing them. Like I remember fucking around with like a very very like shitty like learn C++ bullshit like program that was made for like fucking preteens back in the day, thinking I could make something super cool, and then like realizing that, oh, this is not teaching me in a way that is really going to sink into my brain at all. And it didn't teach theory either; it was just coding. So like this is awesome. And I don't mean to talk over anybody else. Like, I know
Yeah, it's
Lens, like
cool.
you had something to say there. That's all. I'll back off.
I mean, as a kid, like I used to approach puzzle games with a what would a dev do? And this would have helped so much with that thought process to let me know I wasn't going crazy, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, when I was a kid, like girls didn't play video games. Like that was not a thing. It wasn't super acceptable. And so I think this would have gone a long way into making it more acceptable, getting girls more involved in um like your sciences and your tech, and I can't remember the acronym for my life. Um
Yep.
but I think this would have been really helpful, like for our generation when we were kids.
Oh, absolutely. And the fact that after you make your games, you can upload them online for the world as well. So not only are you getting a creative studio that is teaching you from Nintendo how to make video games and the theory behind making these things, not just the programming. And then you also actually have a whole bunch of games that you can make. I mean, yeah, they are going to be limited in scope because, each one of these has certain preset rules and how they function that, in only so many assets within the game, absolutely sure. But it's still cool that you could put, a interesting little idea out into the world and somebody else might actually take a look at it and get a little joy out of it. It's cool.
Exactly.
And I know it's, marketed and is made for kids, absolutely, but I can't wait to build a dumb level out of this. It's cool.
I mean, when you think about it, like this is part of the reason why stuff like Mario Maker was so popular.
Oh yeah.
It
Yeah,
was the hey, look what I did.
yeah, especially putting out your entire the people that put out an entire world worth of games. That is just fucking awesome that those people went through that much time on it. Hey, this is a weird blast from the past. It's looking like there may be a Neopets game coming to the Switch as soon as next year. I know that my little fuzzball probably died 15 years ago. Um, but man, Neopets is the virtual oddity that just never allows itself to die when you think it's completely dead and will never see the giant omelet again, it seems to poke its head out for just a little bit more.
I mean, when you consider like the Windows game for Neopets, so Codestone Quest, was released in 2007. Like I'm one of those weirdos that thinks like 95 was like 10 years ago, but and I mean, the Puzzle Adventure for the DS was 2008.
um
I'm kind of afraid to see when the PSP one was released.
and I know full well that there are other fully grown adults that have kept their babies on Neopets alive for 20 years, and I am not going to knock on that. Like, if that is where you get your fun, absolutely go for it. It is just amazing to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's like maybe it's just me, but I feel like our childhoods are kind of making a comeback in a big way because like they're releasing Tamagotchis now
Yeah.
again.
Oh yeah, my partner got a Tamagotchi for their birthday.
There are Star Wars Tamagotchis coming, like R2D2 Tamagotchis.
We're just in that peak of the retro wave for like early aughts stuff that it's the perfect time to bring back all of that shit. So, yeah. kill it. It is now in vogue.
And it's uncertain times, right? We find comfort in nostalgia in uncertain times.
Yeah.
Oh god, they know us too well. They're marketing directly to us. Make it stop.
And we're helping the marketing. Ah.
Hey.
I mean, it's it would be an interesting time to bring this series back, um, in a way. But I just looking at the article in and of itself, I have a bone to pick a little bit with some of the wording in here,
Oh
Yeah.
personally.
boy.
Yeah, some of the
Um,
wording in this is bleh.
because basically this rumor came out of an article that came out in Launcher, which is the Washington Post's gaming vertical, um, from Shannon Lau, um, who basically said like, hey, the Neopets team is thinking of bringing the game to Nintendo Switch, but declined to share further details. And whoever at Retro Dodo wrote this immediately jumped to like, why else would you decline to talk about something unless it was true? It all sounds a little too covert to us to be a lie. Fuck out of here with that fucking jumping in logic language. I'm sorry, I just can't do it. It's just, oh god, it makes me cringe so hard inside. Like, as someone who has been an editor at very, very small amounts of times, like, why the fuck would you ever write that? And why you fuck would you ever let that go for? Sorry, it's a very, very meta thing for me. I just saw that and I just like,
Yeah, I was not going to focus a lot on the verbiage that they used in this article here, but boy, is it clickbaity as shit. And when each one of your lines is just like, hey, here's a line, here's a line. There's nothing to connect any of these thoughts together, just one quick line and then on to the next part. Cool. You've got a great.
as someone who has written articles based off of very, very little information about these sort of things, speculating on the potential existence of another game in a franchise in that will be exciting to have another game in. I do not fault anyone who has those disconnected sentences at some point in there, because that shit is hard to do when you don't have anything really to go on and someone is telling you to write it. Shout out to fucking Game Revolution for making me write something about Perspective Bully 2 whenever there was no evidence of a fucking Bully 2. Sorry.
Oh.
Receipts are coming,
Hey.
damn it. I'm not writing for them ever again. I don't give a fuck.
While we're in things to make you angry, because when I read this, I kind of just stared at it when I saw you post this. So future Yakuza games at this point in time are going to stick with the RPG battle system that Like a Dragon put out, completely dropping the whole brawler system that is basically synonymous with Yakuza.
Yes, and they're doing it for a very, very good reason. Actually, a couple of them.
Okay.
Um, One, because Like a Dragon was one of the most popular Yakuza games that they put out, and that game sold a good amount. And it was one of the, I think it might have been the first one that was actually released at the same time, at least for Xbox, in North America as it was in Japan. So, like, Sega has a vested interest in what the structure of that game looked like, and it really seems like that model has paid off very well for them with that game. Also, it ties into the announcement of a sequel to Judgment, which is the sort of like spin-off from Yakuza that came out. I want to say that came out in 2019. Um, but so a sequel is being made there, and that game is going to focus on that brawling style. So you have if you want that old school, like, standard Yakuza brawling style that you know and love, you got Judgment. to go over there, and it still has all the same like quirks to it. It has a lot of the same like story elements to it. Obviously, it's different characters, but you have two really good battle systems now into like very good games that might be a little long in the tooth a bit when it comes to exactly how many hours you put into them, but it's creating two different pathways for Yakuza properties to exist under the Sega banner here. And honestly, like I think it's a really good way to go.
I just have always considered the Yakuza series like the last bastion of good brawlers out there, at least for like mainline production. So I don't know. I think a lot of it is the fact that brawlers just almost don't exist in the modern market outside of indie games and $20 indie games and things along those lines. I was I would love to see Sega make more brawlers because they are fucking good at it.
I mean, Judgment did really well. I'm sure the Lost Judgment, the sequel, is going to do pretty well too. So, like, yeah, like that's the thing is like, it's not that the Yakuza style of gameplay is going away. It's just going under a different banner, and they found a really good formula with Like a Dragon.
Mm.
So, I think it's a really good move for them because now you have two franchises that can stand on their own and offer things that, especially with how the Yakuza fan base has been reinvigorated post the release of Yakuza Zero. You know, you've created a thing that so many more people are engaging with now,
Mm.
and now you have two different paths for them to go down. So
Let me be an old fogey, damn it! Get off my lawn.
just go, just go play Judgment. Just either go play Yakuza 6 or any of the other Yakuza games, or just go play Judgment. Trust me, Like a Dragon was actually pretty good. Like it was pretty good.
Fair enough. All right, this sentence feels like there's something wrong with the way that this goes. So, Intergrade is coming out pretty soon. I forget the exact date, honestly. But it's the continuation of the. It's not even a continuation. It's a side story that apparently will give you more information on the Final Fantasy VII remake in parallel and give you a little bit more of what's going on in the world and cap off the story for Final Fantasy VII remake. To which Final Fantasy VII remake part 2 will be a continuation directly off of where Intergrade story leaves you.
Wait, what?
Intergrade is a DLC for Final Fantasy VII Remake that is coming out soon that is telling a side story that also completes the story for Final Fantasy VII Remake, which will then lead into, at a later time, Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2.
Oh my god, this hurts.
Imagine being a parent and your child says, I want the next Final Fantasy VII Remake thing.
Oh my
So
God.
mom goes to the store to pick it up, and the store's like, no. Part 2 comes out probably several years from now. We don't even have a release time. What your kid wants is a DLC for the game. Okay.
And they need it for their ex Nintendo box station.
And this is not to say that it is terrible for a game to have DLC that is integral to the plot. It's not a horrible thing to do. But already the game is named Final Fantasy VII Remake. So now you have Final Fantasy Remake Part 1 Intergrade to follow into Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2.
Yep. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm in the minority here, but my head's not hurting. Sorry.
Like, I don't think for me, it makes sense off the bat because I'm in the ecosphere, right? Like, especially I'm in the Final Fantasy Remake ecosphere. I will buy, at this point, whatever the fuck they have because I loved Part 1. I really thought it was good. Yeah, like, and Coop, yeah, I have to wonder how many times parents go into the store and purchase a DLC when they don't have the base game, but that's just a across the board sort of thing for DLC in the first place that sometimes it's not understood. I think there's even prompts on the PlayStation if you go to buy a DLC to be like, "Hey, we don't see this on your account." Either way, next month,
Exactly.
yeah,
No, I mean, but the thing is, like, for me, like, taking that, putting that to the side for a second, like, this makes a lot of sense
yeah,
to have this DLC lead into like the beginning of the second game, because like you're adding two characters that are more than likely going to be meeting up with our main party people at some point, whether it be at the end of whatever Integrate uh puts out there, or the beginning of the second game. So it's a good way to introduce Yuffie and Sonnen, and then have them weave themselves into whatever the fuck the rest of the crew is getting up to heading into that second game. So, and that way it makes sense. I totally understand where y'all are coming from with the confusion aspect of it, and I totally understand that my understanding of it is because like you, we are engaged in this uh fucking convoluted mess of an industry on the daily. But also, like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of education around DLC has gotten better.
also
Um,
true.
in a lot of ways, and not to mention the fact that, like you said, like most people are buying stuff digitally, and I think pretty much every console at this point points out, if you try and buy a DLC without having the base game, like, hey, uh you might want to drop this other money for this if you want to play this. So there are safeguards there.
Yeah. However, yeah, it's coming out in a month, and they've dropped some more trailers for Intergrade. Um, we have no details on Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 yet. Other than Nomura's statement that they're very much working on it. It makes a lot of sense to keep people's interest in the storyline up by releasing in the additional DLC. Keep your name out there. And as well, I'm kind of excited to see what they do with Yuffie in this. Yuffie in the original Final Fantasy VII, I hated her a lot. I don't think that's really like a hot take that Final Fantasy VII Yuffie added not a lot to the team, other than allowing you the access to go to a complete extra side quest that wouldn't have existed without Yuffie, and that side quest is fucking great. One of my favorite parts of the game. I just don't like Yuffie herself. So I really do think they may be able to bring her back from that image that is left in my mind from the original game, and there are parts of the character that are really cool that I'm excited to see how they bring that out and make it interesting, especially for new fans.
Yeah, and then the last thing I'll say about that, especially is that, look at what they did with that initial trio. Look
Yeah.
at what they did with Jesse. Like someone who was very much just like, oh, you're here at the beginning of the original game, but then like in this game, the remake has become such an integral part of a lot of people's reasoning for enjoying that game.
Yeah.
And so like they clearly show that they can further develop these characters and give them much more than what they had in the original title. So that'll be fun to see where that goes. So
All right, but that is our last story for the day. Um, I had two potential Mr. Video Games. I'm just gonna roll into this one. Mr. Video Games, as always, is the thing, the person, place, noun, that you look into, and you can only look at and say that's that is video games right there. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it doesn't matter. It's just something that you look at, and this is the heart of video games. And our winner for Monday, May the 5th, is a mod developer named JTech that made a mod to Resident Evil Village. You saw the scene previously, where instead of baby, uh, you get Chris Redfield here in as Ethan Winters' baby instead to make that intro that was already fucking ridiculous even more ridiculous.
I mean, I can just see them at Capcom going, guys, we've done it. We've made the most ridiculous intro ever. And then the community just looking at it going, hold my beer.
I don't need to see this image ever again.
Okay, Kelvin, yeah, I saw the Barney mod, and my problem is, I thought we were done with murdering Barney in 2002.
If we're
Yeah.
not done putting Thomas the Tank Engine's face on Lady D, then we're not done with fucking murders Barneys ever. Someone put Thomas the Tank Engine's face on Lady D, and I swear to God, that is unsettling.
Yeah, I saw that, and they're not wrong that her color scheme really matches Thomas. Uh, I'm just gonna go ahead with the other thing that I thought was mostly just really cool. So, that story makes a good tail end to the beginning of the show. So hey, hey, hey. Um, but thank you, Venture Beat, for pointing this one out to us. USC Games is establishing a Gerald A. Lawson Fund to help Black and Indigenous students. I believe Take Two is as well involved in this. It's an endowment that will support racial equality and inclusion for gaming and tech, which is a really cool initiative. A great man to base this off of. Genuinely, from every interview I watched over Mr. Lawson, he was just a wonderful, charismatic man that spent a lot of time underappreciated in his own field, and later, especially in the late aughts, early tens, before his life tragically ended, was really starting to be celebrated, and I love that we're getting a celebration of him in an endowment that will mean a lot to so many people.
Exactly, and it's for a great cause, and it's in a space that needs to continue to grow in diversity. So, I'm all this is amazing news. I was really happy to see this earlier today, and I it's just awesome. I don't really have words for it. It's just really cool.
Yeah, it is really fantastic. And he looks like he was such a sweetheart. Like I see his picture and I just want to give him a hug.
Yeah, tall man. But apparently a real teddy bear in life. All right. Anyway, that has been our Mr. Video Games for Monday, May the 10th, 2021. Um, I guess, yeah, we'll be back tomorrow at 8 to play some Rocket League. Is that the plan?
Oh yeah. Forgot about that. Yes.
All right.
Dope.
I will get my little ass on getting and downloading Rocket League because I've not done that yet. I've had a lot of shit on my plate with work this week, so
No, completely understand.
brain is mush. I
Yeah.
haven't had a single day where I've gotten out on time with the exception of today. Generally, it's 45 minutes to an hour and a half late every fucking shift. And for the record, my week starts on Fridays. So, yeah, it's been bad.
All right, Brian, do you have anything to say at the end of the show?
Yes, I have something to say at the end of the show. Um, follow me on Twitter at WonderboyOTM. Follow my writing at outsports.com as well as tollroad.com. Follow me on Twitter to see where other stuff might be going up at some point. Also, check out my queer wrestling podcast, LGBT in the Ring. It comes out every Thursday on the Outsports Podcast Network. Just search for Outsports in your podcast service of choice. Otherwise, y'all stay messy. Wash your hands, wear your mask, be good to one another. And real quick before, as my final thing for the week, the same person who made that mod with Chris Redfield's face on the baby also made a mod where you can put Lady D's daughters in the dresses from Near Automata. So do with that what you will.
Lindsay, any final words for this evening?
Let me see. As always, don't forget to love each other from a socially acceptable distance. Wear a mask, wash your hands, be the change you want to see in the world, and please just be cool. Don't call into people and scream at them, because that's not nice.
All right. So we'll see you guys at 8 o'clock tomorrow for anyone that wants to join us. As always, have a great night and a pleasant tomorrow.
I sent everyone a picture in the chat. Bye.